So, 2 days ago, a movie comes out of a 2015 horror game sit and survive type game. Five Nights at Freddy's, the movie. And I decided not to go and see it in theaters. I thought it would be a real big fucking stinker. And I was right. It is a fucking stinker. 27% on Rotten Tomatoes. That is wild. That's a really wild rating for a 2-hour horror movie. But I could see why. The movie was a real big fucking stinker. Now, let's discuss the movie. If you don't want to hear any spoilers, click off now. I will be discussing every scene, not every scene, but 90% of the movie. I'm going to be doing a short breakdown. I'm going to summarize the movie for you so you don't have to watch it. Because when you watch it, you're going to be incredibly confused the entire fucking time. And it's not even like good bad. It's not a movie you would sit down just because it's silly and it's a silly horror movie, and 90% of the silly horror movies are actually good bad. Like Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, I watched that just because it was silly bad. This movie was not silly bad. It was just bad. It was really fucking bad. There was no comedy. There was a little bit of there was like a few jokes here and there, but they weren't fucking good ones. They weren't like Saturday Night Live level. They were like sitting down and watching Amy Schumer talk about her clitoris for basically 2 hours. It's like an hour and like 59 or an hour and 49 roughly, plus credits, so roughly 2 hours. You're sitting for 2 hours watching this stinker of a movie. So let's get into it. Scene one, we see a night guard who is unnamed, uh, playing with this little lug nut for a vent. He has his office door barricaded, and he's trying to get out. He eventually gets the vent open, starts crawling through the vent, going, crawling through the vents and shit, fucking terrified with this little flashlight. And there's banging on the door as he's trying to escape. And he eventually gets out into this hallway. He starts booking it down the hallway. He gets to this exit door, which is one of those like push doors that you would see in like high schools or some shit. He eventually gets to that push door exit sign, and it won't open. It won't open. And this is where the scare comes in. And it's not a fucking good one. I can promise you that. It's the basic trope of, oh, lights start flickering, scary music. And all you hear during this scene is him fiddling with the door and bum-biddy-dum, bum-bum-biddy-dum. You see a shadow of Foxy with the flashing light, and you just keep hearing bum-biddy-dum, bum-bum-biddy-dum, bum-biddy-dum-dum-dum. That's what you hear. And then we cut back to the night guard. He's still struggling to open the door, and it just won't open. Foxy gets him. We get a black screen. The night guard is now strapped to a fucking chair. Some like fucking Saw type shit. And as he's strapped to this chair, he wakes up. He's like, oh, where am I? And as he fucking has this epiphany that he hasn't fucking left, A saw-like mask starts coming towards him slowly with like chainsaw blades going around it, and it's shaped like an old Freddy Fazbear mask. And it's like the goofiest fucking shit. That's like one of the only like 4 or 5 kills in the movie. There's a total of 5 kills in the movie. That's it. That is quite literally it. 5 kills. 5 kills only. So you can already see the premise of where this is going. Um but he's strapped down to the chair like this, and he's playing with this little like bolt, cuz one side is tight and the other isn't. So he's playing with this bolt, trying to get it loose so he can try and escape. And he must have the sweatiest hands. The sweatiest hands in the West. Because he does that so poorly that he doesn't escape in time. And he's just screaming. He's like, no! Ah, 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 ah. Cut to a black screen, where we get introduced to our main protagonist, Michael Schmidt. And he is working a security job for a mall. And he goes to get this like frozen yogurt or like ice cream. It's not really set. It's not really like based upon detail. It's like a throwaway bit. And there's this kid standing in the food court just dumbfounded. He just staring off into nothingness like, so his dad comes and finds him, takes him. He grabs his arm, guessing that the kid got lost and he's trying to find his dad. Like whenever you lose your parents in like Walmart and you start like fucking freaking out, like holy shit, oh fuck, where'd mom go? Shit like that. And he's just looking around the food court. Michael turns around, stares at the kid for like a solid 30 seconds, sees the dad take him, and he bolts off. He is just charging this man, hunting him down. He tackles him into a fountain and starts just beating the fuck out of this man in a fountain. And that was like the only like interesting part of the movie. It's just like, oh shit, we're just beating the fuck out of people. And it's the funniest shit ever. That was like one of the funny parts of the movie are literally the only parts where it doesn't make sense. Wherever you see it not make sense is when the movie is good. And it's funny. So we cut to this like big ass building, and we introduce another character, which is Matthew Lillard's character, Steve Raglan. And he is a career counselor. I'm guessing this is set in like the late 90s, maybe early 90s. It's not really based upon, it's not really said much, but they're using like hand phones, they're using the BlackBerry, they're using flip phones. So we could take a wild guess that this is the early late 90s. It's roughly the 90s, maybe early 2000s. But Matthew Lillard is holding his file. So, what are you? Mentally ill? Mentally deranged? You beat up a man in broad daylight in front of his child. Cut to the kid screaming, "Daddy!" as he's getting his ass beat. And turns out that's a big misunderstanding. He wasn't getting kidnapped, none of that. Michael says it's a misunderstanding. Matthew Lillard leans back and he's like, he looks at his entire career record, and he's like, hmm. 1 week. 2 months. It's like you're not even trying to keep a job. What the fuck is going on with you? I'm trying to figure out exactly who you are. Michael And then he freezes for a second. And you're over here sitting here like, I wonder if this is going to be, his name is going to get brought up later. And it does. It does. It deadass does. I'll spoil the ending for you. It does. They say his full name at the end, which makes no logical sense in the beginning. Why you wouldn't just say Mike Schmidt. But he has like this epiphany, and then he leans over to Michael like, which is foreshadowing something, which I'll get into later. And he's like, I have a job for you. It's a security gig, night shift. And Michael's over here like a little shy e-boy. He's like, what? Speak up. He says, I can't do nights. And all giddy, as he gets up, he gets all giddy and says, take my business card, sir. Just in case you have a change of heart. He's like, okay, I'll take it. He takes it, he leaves. He comes home where his sister and then the babysitter, Max, is. He says, thank you for babysitting. He tries to get his sister to eat, which apparently his sister has like this weird thing where she won't eat. She only likes to sit there and fucking color with crayons. That's her only character trait, is that she can draw. That's it. So she's sitting there drawing. He's had a bad day. He tries to force her to eat, breaks her crayon, and he was like, you know what? He sits on her bed. He's like, with the day I had, can you just please fucking eat? Just something. She's like, you're sitting on my friend. Because all she talks to is air. She has imaginary friends that she talks to. And he gets up. He's like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm done. Do whatever the hell you want. I'm going to bed. So he pops sleeping meds. He puts on his gamer headphones and looks up at his roof with a Nebraska poster, plays nature sounds, and goes to sleep. And as he sleeps, he sees this dream, and it's the same dream over and over and over again throughout the entire movie. It's the same fucking dream. It seems to be like a while ago. They're camping in the forest. It seems to be his parents, him, and then a brother. And the brother is going meow, 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 running around in the forest. They're distracted, letting the kid do whatever. And mom spills a soda, which we can see every particle of the soda gets spilled on the bench. And then it cuts to, go and watch your son. Or go and watch your brother. And Mike turns around. And a frisbee comes out of fucking nowhere. He goes to pick up the frisbee. And then he says, Garrett, where'd you go? Where Garrett? And then cut to the back of a car. Garrett's pressing up up against the window, holding his airplane in the other hand. And car zooms off. And I'm guessing that's pretty much why he beats the guy's ass in the mall, is because he's traumatized seeing his brother get kidnapped. And he's fixated on this instead of like moving on and realizing that he's not coming back. He dwells on it, putting himself through mental torment throughout the entire movie. And he wakes up. They go to this school counselor, where his aunt and her lawyer are present, and his aunt is trying to get custody of his younger sister. And the counselor is very against it. She's like, this degenerate, this absolute degenerate, it's 10 a.m. and his eyes are barely open. Like, yeah, it's fucking morning. Ain't nobody want to get up, drive to a school at like 10 o'clock in the morning. That's an adult. Ain't nobody want to get up at like 10 a.m. Everybody want to be asleep. And basically, her lawyer's just sitting there like, just not saying anything, acting completely fucking dumbfounded, sitting there like a fucking buffoon. And she hands him the paperwork, says, please sign it. You know you can't take care of her. Which he can. He can. But at the same time, he's struggling to keep a job because he just refuses to follow the rule. That's it. That's the reason why he got fired from both of his other jobs. Insubordination. That's it. And he says, what if I don't? What if I just don't fucking sign it? She tells him, then we'll have to go to court, obviously. Have you never been in this situation? And she doesn't even care about the kid. She just wants the monthly check from the state. And he acknowledges this. And and the counselor acknowledges this. We cut away. The counselor is talking to Mike. And she says, he tells her, my aunt's an idiot. But she's right. I'm hardly fit to take care of a kid. All she does is sit there and draw pictures. And counselor basically just goes into fucking dumb shit about, oh, kids' pictures are very important to children. Who's the center of her pictures? And he says he is. And she tells him, then you are her world. Because who would want to go with their aunt over staying with their brother? An aunt that doesn't even, like, love them over the brother. And she tells him to get a job. Let's start there. Get a job. So we cut back. He goes home. And he gets on the horn and calls Steve. Like, hey, it's Mike. That job's still open? And Steve is like, oh yeah, Mr. I can't do nights. Yeah, it's definitely open. He says, I'll take it. First night, we get multiple cuts, and he's like, let me give you some backstory. Place was big in the 80s. 5 kids went missing. Place shut down. There are floodlights on the outside, cameras on the inside and outside. And he only has one job, which is to make sure people stay out and keep the place tidy. And the thing that gets said, the most iconic thing in this movie that gets said is, that's 2 jobs. And it's so fucking... It's a joke that doesn't even fucking land. It's like making a sarcastic joke and expecting everybody to laugh. It was awful. So, as Steve gets all giddy about him getting this job, he explains to him basically, if anything happens, flip the breaker switch because the electricity is iffy, and he says piece of cake as he has malicious intentions. And he turns on the cameras, he starts playing with the cameras, watching everything, and Matthew hangs up the horn and sits there like, and just stares at the camera. So as you can see, Matthew Lillard's character is the main villain. First night goes around, he gets out his flashlight, he explores, looks behind the stage, nothing really happens. He flips the breakers on, lights turn on, ooh, Freddy Fazbear's, oh! So he gets into his office, and he puts on his headphones, and just knocks the fuck out. And he has the dream where his brother gets taken, and then he turns around to see 5 kids, each representing a character, obviously, because what's a FNAF movie without the good old FNAF lore? The good old FNAF lore. We love that. Each of the characters each of the kids is wearing something that represents the characters. And he says, "Did you see who took my brother?" There's like 5 of them there. There's each of them wearing something that represents Freddy, Chica Bonnie, Golden Freddy, shit like that. He says, Did you see who took my brother?" They sit there. "Did you see who took my brother?" And then he yells, "Who took Garrett?" And then he chases after the blonde-haired kid. And he chases. And then eventually he falls the fuck out of his seat, wakes up, and he checks his watch. He realizes it's 6 a.m. He goes home, thanks Max for babysitting, and that is night 1. Cut to a diner called Sparky's, which I'm guessing is also owned by the same person that owns the Freddy Fazbear's place, because we see a very old hoax later on in the movie, which I'll explain. And his aunt's lawyer, Max, and her brother are all sitting in a booth at the diner. Max is being paid, quote unquote, being paid to find incriminating evidence on Michael. And she can't find anything. And she's like, "Well, what the fuck are you doing, you fucking harlot? What are you doing? You haven't found a single piece of incriminating evidence so I can take the child? What are you doing? Oh my god." And the brother's like, "Pay us. We did our part. Pay us." She was like, "I ain't paying y'all nothing. Y'all didn't give me nothing. Y'all ain't getting paid nothing." And her lawyer tries to leave as like, "I shouldn't be hearing any of this. I shouldn't be here." Tries to leave. Aunt makes him stay. Max slouches back and was like, "He says he really needs this job. It's a security gig." She's like, that's great and dandy, but I don't hear a way to get incriminating evidence. So her brother whips up the spectacular idea that they should rough up the place. Says his job is to keep people out, so we'll get in. Somehow, they'll get in. Somehow. So, they cut a deal to pay them $1,000. We get the Matt Pack cameo. I'm not even give him his 15 seconds of spotlight because it was just such a cringe cameo. We have two YouTubers in here that are just kind of like cringe cameos. Corey's wasn't as bad, but Matt's was pretty cringe. I'm not gonna lie. Sorry, but it's no matter how many game theory enjoyers I have here, um, his cameo was kind of cringe, and the movie was kind of cringe. It kind of flopped. But anywho, so we cut to the third night, and during the third night, he takes a nap, sees the same dream. This time he chases after the Foxy Kid. Foxy Kid cuts his arm, and somehow that transfers into the real world due to like dream theory or whatever the fuck. And he wakes up after he gets that cut, and he checks the cameras. He sees a police car outside. Enter our female antagonist, Vanessa. So Vanessa's in a poncho. It's raining. She knocks on the door. She's like, "I was afraid you fell asleep on the job." And she just knows everything about Freddy's. She noticed that he's bleeding. She was like, "Come on, I'll show you where they have the first aid kit." So she wraps up his arm, gets it all nice and wrapped. She was like, "Have you met them yet?" He's like, "Met who?" So she takes him to the main area, and she says 5 children went missing under her breath, and he's like, "Huh? Huh? Wait a minute, I never heard nothing about that." And she's like, "Prepare to have your mind blown," to like keep him in the dark and be as vague as fucking possible. Vanessa's character is just vague as fuck. Vague as fuck. Until like the very, very, very end of the movie. So she hits the big red Showtime button, and the animatronics start dun 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 da 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 da, shit like that. And she's like, "You want to dance?" He's just freaked out by it, and they basically spend the entire night together doing dumb shit, talking. She says he's not even wearing his badge. She gives him a badge, which is like this Freddy Fazbear security pin that you can buy on Amazon for like $20. That was like 1,000 tickets. I know this because I've seen it on Amazon. I've seen it. It wasn't like a special prop. I've seen it on Amazon. But anywho, um, third night ends. He locks up the like collapsible gate that keeps people from getting in. The brother of Max opens up his flip phone, calls up his buddies and Max. It was like, "Yo, guys, pull up real quick. I found us a way in," and stares at like this garage collapsible door. So during the day, they break in. It was like, rough it up, steal whatever you want, and then we'll get going. Uh, Pretty sure one's named Hank and one's named Norman. I'm pretty sure that's all of their names. And then the brother's name is like Jeff or some shit. I can't remember all their names. But Jeff, Norman, and Hank, that's what I'm gonna call them because that's what I think their names are. Uh the kid puts on his earbuds, they all start fucking destroying shit, breaking Freddy Fazbear's. Jeff starts stealing coins, puts them in like this duffel bag with a fucking hole in it. And we cut to our first like semi-scary thing that happens in the movie. Norman's in the kitchen, which is the teenage kid, and he starts like throwing racks, and the animatronics don't like this. So he hears this knocking in like a refrigerator, and he goes over to check it out. He's like, "Huh, what's making this knocking sound?" He opens one door of the refrigerator as it's building tension for like a solid 30 seconds. And there's nothing there. Not a fucking thing. Opens the other door, he sees the cupcake with its eyes shut, and then the eyes open, and he walks backwards. He's like, "Ah!" And he turns around, he sees Chica, and he's like, "Oh shit." Then turns back at the fridge, cupcake's gone. Turns back to Chica, cupcake's in Chica's hand. He's like, "Oh shit. Fuck." And then the cupcake jumps off the plate and goes, "Ah!" Like a little face hugger, and starts eating at his face. Hank sees this and starts running around like a crazed maniac after Chica just gives him bombastic side-eye. Is like, "Ah! Ah! Ah!" Jeff's in the security office. He's like, "Hank, what the fuck are you doing? What the fuck are you running from, Hank?" And as we see Hank run around through the cams, he goes into this broom closet, like, because that's the first smart place that you would run to after seeing a killer animatronic, is a nice enclosed space. Very, very big brain. Very big brain. You just don't understand his methods. And he's fiddling with a light. We see a flash of Bonnie. And once he gets the light working, Bonnie kills him. We don't get to see the kill. We don't get to see most of the kills that the animatronics make, except for the cupcake. That's it. That's the only kills that you get to see. And these are the only other 4 kills in the movie. So he dies in the broom closet. Jeff goes to check it out. See the broom closet door opens, and we see Bonnie walk out. Jeff's like, "Oh no! Ah! Ah! Ah!" Running with the duffel bag full of quarters, I'm guessing. And remember how I said it had a hole in it? Yeah, he's leaving a breadcrumb trail of where he's running to with the coins. He goes to the exit sign from the first scene with the door that won't open and the flickering lights, and he tries to escape. Through the exit, and the lights start flickering. You hear bum dee dum bum dee dum bum dum 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 bum dee dum 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 dee dum for a full 30 seconds, and he doesn't get the door open. Foxy charges at him again. Literally the only Foxy kills that exists. It's just him rushing the hallway. And Jeff dies. Max is sitting in the car. She's like, "Where are these guys at? I know it doesn't take 3 hours to destroy a small little pizza place." So she hops out the car. She starts looking for her friends. And she sees this little boy. He's like, follow me. She's like, hey, wait. So she runs after him because that's like the only logical idea to see a child in a rundown pizza place is to go and follow him. He's like, hurry up. And he leads her to like the supply closet. And the old hoax that I was talking about, there are two like suits that we see just on the ground, which is a dog and a purple suit. Now, the two hoaxes that are back there are from the purple one is the purple Freddy from the game lore, and then the Sparky the dog animatronic, which was an old hoax when the first game came out that people made images about, and I'm guessing Scott just had the idea to throw it in there for a tee hee. They'll point fingers at that. They'll know I confirmed it now. So she's like, ugh, looking at all the animatronic parts, and he's like, warmer. And the camera swiftly moves over to Freddy Fazbear. He's like, how? He grabs like a foldable chair, gets up, stands on top of it, and we zoom in for a solid maybe minute and a half on Freddy Fazbear and his jaw. And kid's hands come out of it for a little jump scare, pulling her in, and she gets chewed up, eaten in half. The only thing that's left is her fucking pelvis and legs. And that is like the only 4 kills in the movie. That's it. Except for the beginning. Those are the only 4 kills in the movie. Wow. Crazy, I know. So, he third night rolls around. He calls Max for babysitting. And she no answer because she did. So he looks at his sister, is like, well, guess you're coming. He takes her with him. He says, no, there should be no reason why you leave my office. You sleep, I work. And it doesn't really go out that way. They go in, they build her a fort to sleep in. She goes to sleep. Then he goes to sleep. We cut to the same dream, but he sees the blonde kid sitting in the dirt drawing a picture. And he's like, you're one of those missing kids, right? And he's like, can you please help me figure out who took my brother? And kid stands up and he's like, what will you give us in return? What will you give us if I show you? Which is another foreshadowing to who really took his little brother. He has that dream. His sister's wakes up. Shit, I just flip-flopped that. His sister wakes up before we go to the dream sequence. Is like, I'll be right back. She goes to the bathroom. Then hears pitter-patter up on the stage. Finds Freddy. Freddy steps out, sees her. Then we cut to the actual dream sequence of the kid drawing a picture. And as I said, he's like, what will you give us in return? He disappears. We hear screaming just faded in the back. And we zoom in on a drawing of a, like, rabbit. Which is, like, the main antagonist of the children. And as he hears this screaming, he wakes up. He noticed that his sister's missing. And he tries to find her. He sees Freddy. Freddy sees him. Freddy starts walking at him. He grabs a chair. He starts backing up because he's scared of the fucking thing. And his sister makes friends with the animatronics. Now, this is where the movie gets really fucking goofy. She makes friends with the animatronics, and the animatronics make friends with her and Mike and Vanessa at some point. So, um, Mike's like, we gotta go. Time to go home. Come on, Abby. He takes her home and he looks at the pictures that she drew. And she drew a picture of her brother getting taken, which she wasn't alive for. And he was like, "Did a boy with blonde hair tell you about this?" She nods. And she was like, "Do you remember what?" Or he was like, "Do you remember what the man looked like?" She was like, "No. All they talk about is the yellow rabbit." Which you hear the giggles throughout the movie of "Yellow rabbit. We love the yellow rabbit. The yellow rabbit." We hear that throughout the entirety of the fucking movie. So, he's like, "Can you ask them for me who took Garrett?" She nods, and uh we cut to Vanessa knocking on the door. This is during the third night. Shit, I completely skipped over this part. This is my bad. Um Third night, she knocks on the door. She's like, somebody broke into Freddy's. She finds the sleeping pill. She was like, criminal negligence. They go and sit. They talk about dream theory. Um, she throws the pills into the river. Says, no more sleeping on the job, basically. I guess I see why I skipped over that part because it was so minute and fucking useless. Um, all that happened during that was Abby finds the paper. After they get the badge. Fourth, what happened after the fourth night? Um, or the third, after the third night, he was like, "Can you ask them?" Like, yes. So, third night rolls around. Third or fourth night, I can't remember now. Fuck, there's like 6 nights. I don't know. They go back to this place a fucking shit ton. Uh, Next, they go to the pizza place. Vanessa's there, and they meet in the office. And Abby runs up on the stage and she's like, "I missed you." And he talks to Vanessa as she goes and plays with the animatronics. "Missing kids, you never told me anything about missing kids." She's like, "How'd you know that?" She starts getting scared of it, deters the conversation to keep everything so fucking vague. And Abby draws up a picture of a fort. This is where the movie is still fucking goofy. We get a montage of them building a fort, and then all of them lay in the fort. She was like, "I think we need a roof. It's gonna rain." Mike's like, "I'll go with you." He was like, "Can you ask them for me?" And then he goes with Vanessa. And Vanessa apparently knows where everything is. Conveniently, they see like this. I'm guessing it's supposed to be the baby costume. It's like this spring lock baby costume. As she finds the tablecloths, he goes to touch it, which I don't know why you would touch it. But he goes to touch it, and she's like, "Don't do that. Those are spring locks. They're very unstable." She puts a broomstick in between the spring locks, and it cuts the broomstick in half. She was like, "Yeah, very unstable." He was like, "How do you know so much?" It was like, oh, I just left the place as a kid. It tries to like just be completely fucking vague. So, um, he was like, I think they know who took my brother. He's like, drop it, Mike. Drop it. Drop it, Mike. Stop it. Drop this entire fucking thing. So, that's the end of that night. He's like, you know what? Fuck this. He goes and gets a new prescription of pills. Or wait, no, they go to the parking lot. She was like, do what you want with your own life, but you bring Abby back here and I'm shooting you. Because, like, that's something a cop normally does, I guess, in the 90s to 2000s, which is the goofiest shit. Next night rolls around. He goes to get new pills. He gets the new pills. He heads over to Freddy's during the day. He pops them, puts on the nature sounds, and is like, sleeps. And there he has the dream, but different. His brother's actually there and doesn't get taken. And the kids are behind him. And he's like, this isn't how it happened. This isn't real. The blonde kid's like, but it could be. This is what you want. You could have this dream every night. He's like, no, they're gone. But they're all gone. And the kid was like, but this is what you want. And you said we could have anything we want. We want Abby. He touches his little brother. And it cuts to a scene of Abby saying, you're home. He's like, okay, crying. Then he has a second of actual post-night clarity. And he's like, no, this is wrong. No, no. So all the kids like chase him and shit. Or not chase him, he chases after them. This is where the next scare of the movie comes around, which is horrible scare. Chases after the Foxy kid. They all like cut at him and shit. And he catches the Foxy kid, and it's just like a big image of the kid with black eyes that are like melting with black ink. He passes out. He gets put into the same chair from the first scene with the saw mask. He's like, ah, mask, saw mask, and he starts playing with the same lug nut, unscrewing it slowly. And he actually is successful on like the first night guard, and he hits the button. He gets out of the seat. He scooches back and he falls behind the Sparky and the Purple Freddy costumes, and he sees Hank, Max, and Norman all dead. And he starts limping out. He's like, he gets to the basic Foxy flickering light jump scare hallway with the exit door. He fiddles with the push door. He's like, and then we hear dum dee dee dum dum dum, and he eventually gets out. Foxy doesn't get him that time, not with that. Pretty sure this is the fifth night now. And he gives Abby to his aunt, unfortunately. And her aunt is like, you can't stay in that room all night or all day, some shit like that. Then goes, sits on the couch, watches a Chia Pet commercial. And then we hear this loud ass thud. Abby comes out of her room and she's like, Freddy! Kid with blonde hair is like, no, not Freddy. But they're already waiting for ready to play. Which is the goofiest shit. And she's like, okay, but how do we get there? Cut to a taxi. She hops in. Corey Kenshin is the driver. Which, I'm not going to say that I don't like his cameo. His cameo is at least, like, it's actually pretty good. It's a lot better than Matt Pat's cameo. Golden Freddy gets into the other seat, which apparently everybody can just see Golden Freddy, which is kind of goofy, but we'll roll with it. He notices that the car is one side heavy, plays with the mirror. He's like, whoa, my goodness gracious, what is that? It's like, why do I always get the weirdos? So they drive over to Freddy Fazbear's, and she goes inside and she turns around. She's like, where did he go? We cut to Vanessa finding Mike hurt. She wraps him up, gets him stitched up, cleaned up. He's like, why aren't you telling me everything that you're telling me? Or why aren't you telling me anything? And, she just couldn't be bothered. She argues with him. Then she pulls out a picture. Those 5 missing kids. The ghosts aren't only in the animatronics, it's their bodies! Their fucking bodies! Which is the goofiest shit of all time. And says they want to make her like them. She eventually reveals that she pulls out a picture. And she eventually reveals the golden bunny is William Afton and her father. She pulls out a picture of the golden bunny standing next to her with his little brother's airplane in her hand, which is William Afton. Whoa. So they get a bunch of tasers and shit. He's like, come with me. She's like, I won't be much use to you if I come with you. She's like, you gotta avoid the main door. You gotta go through the vent on the east side. So he does that. He sees Chica take her to the back. He's like, no! He bashes on the vent, opens it, crawls out. They're having their little dance party. That shit. He sneaks over, and Freddy's like, huh? And he gets behind the stage somehow. Like, that's just how logic works. He grabs a bucket of nasty fucking poo-poo water. Icky poo-poo water. And pours it on the stage, which that doesn't immediately cause circuit, like, issues. And he just gets his taser out and goes... The animatronics short circuit, fall backwards. And we cut to Chica, and the baby costume is just leaning back. And Abby's like, what is that, Chica? Why are we back here, Chica? Chica picks her up and tries to put her into it. Mike saves her, tases Chica, basically. He's like, I know, we have to go. So, we cut to the hallway. He's running down the hallway to the exit door, which has always been locked and has always pulled out the dum-dee-dee-dum-dum-dum. This has happened like 3 to 4 times now, and we're not learning. The cupcake snatches his fucking leg. He's like, "Go, run! Leave without me!" She runs into the office where Vanessa meets her, and he struggles to pull out his cattle prog, and just as he gets the cupcake off and it tries to come at him, he's like, "Dah!" And it short circuits the cupcake. So as they tried to escape, they somehow meet with Foxy. Um, she runs into an arcade, and this is the second almost scary moment. She runs into an arcade, hides behind an arcade machine as Foxy is walking down the aisle. She finds a ball pit, hides in that, and maybe a solid 2 to 5 minutes pass, and Vanessa tases Foxy and pulls Abby out. And as Mike gets up to find his sister, we get meet with the yellow rabbit. He kind of just lurks out, he with his head tilted and shit, and it's like this big bulky ass costume, and it's different from a lot of the animatronics. Like, you can tell this was a suit that was meant to be worn, unlike the actual like puppet animatronics. And he's like, "Couldn't just leave it alone, could you, Michael? You couldn't just leave it alone." So he kicks Michael in the face. He's like, "First I kill your brother, now I kill you. It's symmetry, my friend." Abby is somewhere hidden throughout this entire scene, as Vanessa says, "Dad, stop!" Some shit like that. She has her gun pulled out. He yells, "Children, wake up! I brought you somebody to play with." Shit like that. They all the animatronics get back up. She's like, "Dad, stop." She has her gun pulled out and pointed at him. He's like, "Your loyalties have run dry, but they haven't lost their loyalties." We cut to this wall with a bunch of pictures. The yellow rabbits holding hands with all the kids, with all the drawings, and somehow that makes a lot more sense to the children. But he's like, "Temper tantrum," some shit like that. He has a villain monologue with Vanessa. She shoots him. He's like, "Oh, you did not just do that. You shot your own father." So he whips the gun out of her hand. She's like, "I won't let you hurt anybody else." And he's like, "Oh, really?" The classic Shaggy moment of, "Are you challenging me?" And shanks her in the side, like, "But Dad!" Falls over. Michael, like, is playing dead, wakes up a little bit. Abby runs over to him, wakes him up. He's like, "He hurt your friends. Show them what really happened." And as all the animatronics are like slowly moving and walking over, she draws a picture, and then she sees the picture of the yellow rabbit holding all the hands of the kids. She goes, "Grr!" and rips it off and puts a picture up, and William Afton not doing a fucking thing. He's like, "Hey, hey!" And then she sticks a picture. Michael is limping over to the office and flips the breaker. All the lights turn on, and the lights flash upon the picture of the yellow rabbit murdering all the children. The animatronics see this, and their eyes just glow red, and they all surround William. Lights flash in his face. He's like, ah, 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 no, ah, no, ah. And as the lights turn on, he just starts fucking degrading the fucking spirits. He's like, look at you. Look how disgusting you've become. Look how small you are. You worthless, disgusting little beasts. They all surround him. And apparently for the spring lock mechanisms, they didn't do what they did in the mini games. The cupcake lunges at him. It latches onto like his side, like low, like his stomach side, and he's like rips it off, throws it, and that's what makes the spring locks activate in his sides. He's like ah, ah, ah. He makes like no sound, and it's just like breathing as they go into his side, and we get the great iconic William Afton line, "I always come back," and he gets, or wait, no, we don't get that yet. He gets down on his knees, and he picks up the mask. He's like, "I always come back." He puts it back on, and the spring locks activate all around him. He basically dies in that suit and falls to the ground, slumped. Foxy hooks onto him, and they start walking with him, dragging him. And as that's happening, they escape the building as it's like completely falling apart as the spring locks activate. And they start dragging him. The humans escape. They take Vanessa with them. Vanessa's in the hospital. And Mike's like, "We wouldn't have been here if it not been for you." They have a sentimental moment. And then we cut back to the house. They're eating breakfast. Or no, they're not eating breakfast. They're eating spaghetti and meatballs. And she's like, "Can we go and see our friends again?" Which they're setting up for a fucking sequel. Which they probably could do. Not even gonna lie, with how much money they probably made, they probably could make a second one. But as they do this, it fades out. They have a silly, goofy moment. He's like, "You never know what could happen." And then we fade out of the house. We cut to the Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria, and it's William just spazzing out in the spring locks. He's like, "Gah, gah, 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 ah, ah." And he starts to try and get control of like the spring lock hands, and then finally gives up, and the blonde kid shuts the door. And then we get met with a black screen. Credits roll, and we hear, "We've been waiting every night to finally roam and invite." We hear that song. And there's not really like a post-credit scene, but there is at the same time. It's another thing of just Corey getting scared. He's like, "Oh my goodness. Not cool." And then we get met with And that's the end of the movie. What I would rate it, I would give it a solid 40%. There were like a few good parts, the set was nice. I enjoyed more of the set and like the actual effects and shit like that over the actual story itself, but I can see why I got a 27. Um Overall, it doesn't really bring in a new audience. It bring Because most of the people that are going to see the Five Nights at Freddy's movie are people that have played the games, the FNAF nerds. And no matter how bad you made the movie, kids are still going to go and watch it, which is completely fine and respectable. But if they were to set up for a second movie, they could definitely do it. They made a shit ton of money even though the movie performed to be dog shit, but who knows? If they would have went with the R rating over the PG-13 rating, they probably could have had a better movie. That's all I'm going to say. That is my opinion. If they would have went with the R rating, they would have had a better movie. They could have done a lot more. And if they would have stuck to like more lore-based shit, then yeah. I think that they could have done a whole lot more. They could have made it a whole lot better. Um But for as the movie as a whole, I thought it was okay. Nothing more than that. If I had to put it on a tier, it would probably go middle of the road C tier, which is fine. It's chilling. But besides that, that's it. Yeah.